Hey guys, today we're doing a little bit of a different video. I don't normally do videos like this, but yesterday I was watching a video from Rich of ReviewTechUSA, and he did a video talking about Star Fox's invincibility mode. I normally don't do reply videos or responses or anything like that, but this time it's just something I've been thinking about for a little while. So the main point of this discussion about the invincibility mode is games should be difficult, and games should not be like hold your hand or be too easy. Although I will give him the credit for saying that he knows that older games had to be more difficult because that's the only way you could get gameplay out of it. But the main core of his discussion was about like how games are supposed to be difficult. So, just so you know, I am subscribed to him. I do watch a lot of his videos, and I do agree with him on a lot of things. But this is one thing I have to kind of disagree with. So, full disclosure, I probably didn't have the same experience with games at a younger age than he did. Like, he's definitely older than me. I'm still 24, but I didn't even get my first video game console until I was in middle school. So I missed a lot of the beginning stuff when it came to video games. The one thing you won't notice if you did grow up with video games is when you grow up with video games, you have a lot more time when you're younger to get exposed to how the mechanics work. So of course, if you grew up playing NES games, you're going to have a lot easier time with games today. And that's why it would seem like games today are significantly easier. Well, of course they are, but it'll also make it easier for you to play games today. So that's not the main thing I'm discussing, but the main thing I'm discussing is he's talking about how games are he didn't say games are too easy nowadays. He said that in a few other videos. This is, again, the reason why I'm making this video. It seems to be a kind of recurring discussion. The way I see it with games and difficulty is no, games do not have to be difficult to basically be video games. Although I do agree with him that games shouldn't be holding your hand the entire way through. I think giving help to players who are having trouble beating a level is not necessarily a bad thing. A really good example, or a really interesting example, is the Golden Tanuki suit in Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS. That was a really interesting game. If you died like 3 or 4 times on a certain part of a level, you'd be given this pretty much win item. And while to most people, I can guarantee pretty much everyone who grew up on games would instantly be like opposed to that. It's like, why is there a win item in the game? That's just cheating, like you finish the thing. But if someone's really frustrated on a game, there's many games that I've played where I've just given up on them because it was too difficult. And a lot of you may be saying something like, oh, just keep at it, just keep trying, and eventually you'll finish the game. That's not always true. Like, there are really, really hard games out there that very few people have beaten. Does that mean if someone just tries and tries, they'll magically be able to beat the level? Maybe, but not all the time. Also, you have to remember that people actually are more busy nowadays, so they don't have as much time to dedicate to the games as they did a long time ago, especially when it was younger people playing games. You had a lot less to do, but just generally today, we're a lot more busy than we used to be. So that's another reason why they can't really give games a difficulty that make you like physically grind out a level to try to figure out the perfect execution to complete it. But as for just difficulty in general, the reason I think it's okay, I said before, was because if someone's really, really stuck on a level, you give them the option to. But the way I like the Super Mario 3D Land balanced it out was the item would be there, and if you completed the level using that item, it would leave a permanent mark on your level select. That's what I think would be interesting, because that means that anyone who actually cares about their progression in the game, they'd always see that mark, and that mark would always remind them, hey, you didn't actually beat this level. You got to go on, because maybe there might be a next level that's a little bit easier, but you never beat that level. So what it meant to me was, I never actually used one of those items, but I just did try one when I went back to a level to see what it would do, and it does leave a mark on there. So the interesting thing is, for me at least, whenever I see that item come up, it reminds me of saying like, oh yeah, you could cheat your way out of this level, but if you do, then there'll be a permanent mark. That means you would have not actually beaten this level. You would not have actually beaten this game unless you beat the level without it. So every time I saw one of those came up, it was almost like a taunt from the developers to me. It wasn't like just a, oh, if you want to beat this level, here's help. It was a challenge, like, oh, you've died quite a few times. I guess you would get better. And that actually basically drove me to actually finish some levels. And I played other Mario games too, and they're not all super, super hard, but whenever I get stuck on a level, I'd usually put the game down and not try for a little while, or maybe come back to it later, which is, I guess, what some other people would do. But as soon as I saw that little item come up in Super Mario 3D Land, it always pushed me to just try one more time. It's like, it was basically, like I said before, the game taunting me. And that made me want to keep playing the level till I beat it. So, help items are not always bad. Again, this probably isn't the case for everyone. Many other people may just either use it or ignore it or just get annoyed by the fact it's even there. But one thing I do agree with him though is having a full invincibility mode is probably not the best idea. Just making it so the game he explained it as the gameplay itself. I would say I wouldn't go that far. I'd say it's pretty much like the Lego games where you can't. Well, I don't know if it was like this back in the day, but nowadays it's like you pretty much can't die if you're playing, especially like in co-op or whatever. When you're out of hearts, you just pop back up. So I'd say it's a lot similar to that, making it more, I guess, kid friendly. But personally, if I was developing the game, I think I'd do it a little bit differently. I think I'd probably do it closer to Super Mario 3D Land, where it's like, oh yeah, you've died an awful lot of times on this level. Do you want to get basically a pass on it and maybe come back to it later? That way the person can actually progress in the game, not just put it down and stop playing. And that way also, if they do it that way, when they go back and look at their levels, they can't pretend like they can't fake that they completed the game because they cheated out on one level. They always have that mark there until they actually beat the level for real. And maybe, I was about to say don't give them the full ending until they complete all the levels, but I would say it would be enough to just leave a permanent mark on there that says on your level select that you didn't actually finish the level. So why am I rambling on about this? I have absolutely no idea. It's just something I've really been thinking about, and he again, like I said before, he's brought up a bunch of times that games need to be hard. That's what games are supposed to be, and that's a really interesting prospect because I think just like how our society has changed over time, games have too. And for lots of people, I may say it's for the worst. Games are becoming too easy these days. And I would say no, games are becoming more accessible. It's a huge different thing. For example, with technology, with computers and smartphones, they've become a lot more advanced, and they've also become easier to use. Does that mean the experience is any less enjoyable or any less in depth? I'd say no. Like if you look at the different version of Windows, everything's become a lot more streamlined, especially up to like Windows 7. Does that mean that you can't run as many programs as you could before? Well, aside from compatibility issues, no. It still runs all your old applications, it just makes it easier to get to. It makes the operating system more accessible. Does that mean that since now people don't need to memorize a bunch of DOS commands and that everything's easier so that non-tech people can use computers, does that make computers less interesting or does that make them less useful? No, it just means the barrier to entry has been lowered. So that's just the best way I can think of describing it, because just because something takes less knowledge to do or less experience or less time does not make it any less of an experience. And I'd say the same thing goes for games. Overall, over time, games have become more accessible because more people are playing them. It's become a multi-billion-dollar industry. I mean, just look at how much Destiny costs to make. You don't want to make a game that costs, $500 million? And then make it so hard that only the core few people who grew up on games will be able to play it. You have to actually think about the larger majority. Sure, lots of people did grow up on those old games, and yeah, there's plenty of not just indie games, but AAA games coming out that give you that hardcore difficulty you want. But the fact of the matter is, there are an awful lot of people who didn't grow up with the same experience as you. And because of that, sure, they could probably grind in their basement for like another 10 years and get up to the experience level you are, but by that time, the next generation of games will be in. So, again, sorry for the super unorganized thoughts. This is just one of my just talking. There's no script. There's nothing. It's just me blabbing into the microphone. I'm on my laptop. I don't even have my desktop with me, so there's no video or anything. It's just going to be just me just yabbering on about whatever. So anyway, I sincerely doubt that Rich of ReviewTechUSA is ever going to see this video. But if he does, I'd love to get on a Skype call with him and talk about, different views. 'Cause I'm sure I have a very different opinion or view on video games than he does. Seeing how I pretty much started in the N64 generation. So that would be pretty interesting. But again, I doubt that's going to happen. So what I'm going to leave this up to you guys is you guys in the comments. Talk about what you view as video games. Because again, your first experience with something is pretty much going to determine how you view it. Like if you started gaming with the NES era, of course that's going to basically define games for you. But if you grew up in the, let's say, GameCube era, you're going to be more tuned, or what your definition of game is going to be completely different. So I want to open a dialogue here. I guess post below what was your first video game console and how you view gaming today. Do you think games really need to be hard? Do you think there's more that's important than just difficulty in games? I guess just post it down below. Share it with your friends. I'd like to get as much information as possible, because the more people we have from more different, introductions to gaming, more different views of gaming, the bigger discussion we can have. So that's what this comments section is going to be. discuss, I guess, your view of gaming, how it's changed over the years, and yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.